Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. After 18 years as a hospice chaplain, I can't guarantee we'll all go to heaven, but I can guarantee you we're all going to die. Some of us will die better than others. Personally, I'd like to go like my 93-year-old patient who at the exact moment of death raised her arms to heaven and demanded those welcoming her pull harder. Modern medicine, comfort care, is so advanced that we need not fear the physical pain that was once associated with dying. So what keeps us from a better death? Why do so many of us think of death with fear and anguish? For some, it is the unknown, the fear of the unknown. Others fear dying alone or in pain. Some fear dying young or unexpectedly. But to have a better death, we really must make peace with death. Preparing for death is one of the most rational, rewarding acts of a lifetime. Early in my hospice career, I heard about a large hospital in Los Angeles where terminal patients were warehoused in a large hospital setting, sterile and impersonal, called a red room. Patients were kept comfortable, basic medical needs were met, but the red room was just an antiseptic waiting room for death. Near that same time, I read Stephen Levine's book, A Year to Live. Stephen spent more than 25 years working in hospice, in hospital settings, and on death row. His words were reassuring and hopeful. I began searching for the positive aspects of death. I was struck by the similarities between birth and death. One the beginning, the other the ending. Each an essential part of life. Only a decade ago, a physician took charge of the pregnancy and birth in a sterile, impersonal environment. The mother was sedated, the father was isolated, and the family was excluded. Now, babies come into the world in comfortable birthing suites, with the family included. Oftentimes, the family is attended by a midwife, with doctors and medical staff playing a supporting role. In my position as a hospice chaplain, I assist at the end of life, just as a midwife in traditional sense assists at the beginning of life. I help my patients imagine and design a gentle and untroubled death, similar to the way a midwife helps a family and a mother design a unique and joyous birth. That's why I call myself a midwife for souls. Designing a better death begins with looking at our fears about dying. These fears typically fall into 3 categories: fear of the dying process, fear of what the moment of death is like, and fear of what comes after. Let me share a few examples with you. At age 40, Lisa had just completed her final round of chemotherapy. Her doctor called our office to arrange for hospice care. When I visited with Lisa, I gently explained to her that she had only a few weeks to live. Her response was, "But I don't feel like I'm dying." "Oh, I know you don't," I said. "But when you do go, how would you like to die?" Her response was immediate and decisive. She said, "I would like to die at night and just go dance in the stars." Lisa's family helped her realize her wishes. Her bedspread was printed with images of the moon and the sun. Her sheets showed the night sky, and her ceiling was decorated with reflective stars. 1 week later, it was nighttime when Lisa slipped away. Her family and her friends were at peace, knowing that Lisa had indeed gone to dance in the stars. Like many of us, Jim was afraid of what comes after death. Jim was a veteran of the Vietnam War, and he felt guilty about the lives he had taken and the friends he had lost. He chose hospice early in his diagnosis, so we had time to address those demons. During our months together, I asked Jim, "What do you regret?" Answering this question helped Jim reframe his guilt and fear. He found new meaning in his military service. He was at peace and lost his fear of death. Later, Jim's wife told me those conversations saved Jim's life. Well, no, but maybe they had saved his death. Sometimes death comes unexpectedly. Ken was the victim of a devastating accident. He was rushed to the hospital and diagnosed with irreparable brain damage. The only choices Ken's family had were when and how to take him off life support. Ken was lying in his hospital bed, intubated, but looking robust and seemed to just be sleeping. With his family gathered around his hospital bed, I stepped to his side and put my hand on his arm. I spoke of his goodness, his family legacy, and his lifetime of service. I encouraged his family to share their memories of Ken. Through laughter and tears, they reminisced, each expressing how Ken had been a hero in their lives. Building on those stories, I asked them to consider that their next story about Ken would not be about his life, but about his death. What would his hero's death be like? The tender details of Ken's death were designed with purpose and dignity. Ken's obituary led with his family's view of his death. It read, "Ken passed away quietly and peacefully, surrounded by family, beautiful music, love, and happiness for his new journey." Using guided visualization and by reframing expectations about death, patients and families can overcome their fears and reimagine death as a cause for celebration, a reaffirmation of life, a new birth. And so I ask you, as I ask my patients and my friends, what do you regret? What is left unsaid? And most importantly, how do you want to die? To look squarely at death, to accept its inevitability, to plan for ourselves and consider for ourselves and our loved ones a better death, gives us a better life right now. One of the most poignant descriptions of this idea came from Matthew Ricard, a Buddhist monk. His faith teaches that death is a natural part of the life cycle. Many people in modern Western societies are unprepared for death, he states. In Buddhism, we think about death all the time simply to give value to every moment that passes by. In other words, when we embrace our death, we embrace our humanity, and we embrace life.